Welcome to PHP Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're here for another Monday minisode.
That's right. Monday minisodes are where we get an opportunity to, in a short amount of time, 10 minutes or so, talk about something that's important to us as resellers. But if you like this kind of content, you like the type of stuff we talk about, check out our longer form podcasts every Wednesday on YouTube or anywhere you can listen to podcasts. Go to PHP Podcast, you'll find us. And we go a little bit longer on a lot of different things. So, but today we're talking about something that's kind of been interesting in the reselling world lately. And honestly, it hasn't been an issue for me, like necessarily a huge fear for me in reselling. But as a kid, I remember I was always afraid of being sued. You'd hear about the crazy litigious society that we're in and the things people get sued for. And we're starting to see that there may be some increases in resellers being sued for various things. And so a lot of resellers are worried and concerned about that. And so today we're going to be talking about the risky behaviors that can get you sued in reselling. So that way you can avoid those. Stay safe out there.
I'm interested in what AI image will come up for our thumbnail for this one.
Hey, don't give away the secret that I use AI for.
Oh,
man.
Should we delete that?
It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Anyways, so what I wanted, there's two reasons I want to talk about this. So number one, I want to make sure you guys understand Mike and I are not attorneys. We're not lawyers. So this is not legal, any kind of legal advice. Number two is you can always get sued no matter what. I remember I had a friend of mine who was an attorney and he was older and he's moved on to glory now. But he'd always say, like, it doesn't matter what you sign. It doesn't matter what a judge orders. People can always sue you no matter what. Even if you do everything right, you can get sued. So there's no guarantees, but there are definitely things you can do that will put you into the area that, you are, very, very sensitive to a possible lawsuit. And the reason I'm bringing this up is there's been a lot of talk in the reselling community. We've been DM'd a lot lately. People are freaking out like, man, they're pushing us resellers out. What are we going to do? They're coming after us, Orlando. And when I started looking at the details as to why these things have been happening, for example, right now, it's been viral on TikTok. There was a gal that was being sued by Luke Combs. He's a country singer. I don't listen to country, but
yeah, I saw some of that stuff.
Yeah, she was being sued by his team for, like, I think selling shirts with his image on it or something like that. I don't know the whole details. And it's kind of crazy story. Luke Combs found out about it and called her and just said, hey, sorry, we're not dropping the lawsuit. And then I guess she had like $5,500 of her Amazon money locked up because Amazon had frozen her account. So he gave her $11,000 and then he's going to fly her out to his concert. So, but not everything ends in a fairy tale story. But the other side of that story, I've seen a lot of people viral too on there saying, well, the reality is a lot of the stuff that was allegedly being sold were images of, like Disney images or trademarked images. And we'll talk about that. So sometimes, you hear one side of the story and you're like, oh man, they're coming for us. But the reality is the other side of the story is you're probably not doing the things that these people were doing. Right. So you just gotta be careful with that. Don't think that like the world's going to end. Now, if you do certain things, the world might end. So let's talk about some of those. The first one is if you get a cease and desist letter. Now, generally, you get a lot of these if you sell on Amazon. You don't get them so much on eBay. I've never received one for selling on eBay. It's only been when I used to sell a lot on Amazon. There was a time when I had, I think, like 200 listings on Amazon, all brand new items. And I had a friend of mine too that, he had a lot of listings on Amazon and he ignored his cease and desist letters all the time. He didn't care. He just kept selling. And he's the lucky one. He's the one that, for a reason they didn't come after. But I know others that they got a cease and desist letter and they're like, I'm going to ignore this. I'm just going to keep selling. Usually when you get those letters, their letter, number one, they're telling you to cease and desist. So they're telling you to stop selling the inventory they're telling you to sell. And then they want you to report to them. Now, whether you report to them or not is up to you. I know, I think it's College Picker had, he got one at one time. I don't know if it was from Patagonia or somebody. And he actually contacted them and I think everything got resolved. Right. But I know other people that they're just, I'm going to do what I want. And they just kept going and they end up in a lawsuit. Right. And I always tell people, like, is it really worth it to you? Right. Is it really worth it to put your store that you make a full-time living at risk? And then on top of that, you have to get a retainer and then you have to pay all these court fees. If you get that season on the list, sometimes you're just better off just not doing it. And I know we can all argue the first sale doctrine, which is first sale doctrine is if you buy something, you have every right to resell it because it is now your property. And that's true. A lot of these companies get around with that because they say, well, the reality is they're trying to sell something as new. And usually if you sell it as new, that means you get the warranty with it. But if it's already been bought by somebody, that warranty cancels out. And that's kind of like the little inroad they get to sue people. So if you get those cease and desist letters, I would definitely just move away and just say, you know what, it's not worth it to me. And I understand there's some of you that sell thousands of items of this kind, and then you got to just weigh your options. Is it worth getting into some kind of, court battle at all into those situations?
Yeah, that's true. The next one is selling luxury brands. If you're selling luxury brands, the chances of getting wanted a cease and desist letter or just running into issues of being sued is much higher than if you're just selling random odds and ends stuff. We're talking like high end purses or perfumes or things that one, people could accuse of being fake or that are often fake. That's kind of a good indicator. I mean, regular Levi jeans aren't going to be like faked in the same way that a Louis Vuitton purse is. And so when you're selling really high end stuff, the chance of fakes goes up, but then also those companies care a whole lot more about their reputation. Because when somebody's carrying around something like a Louis Vuitton purse, they're saying something about the company. The company cares about that brand name so much because that's why they're able to charge what they're able to charge for it, is because it has the reputation that it has. And so if you're selling something of theirs, there's a higher chance that you're going to run into this. One of the first things that my wife and I sold on eBay was her Louis Vuitton. She had a Louis Vuitton bag that a family that she used to babysit for in college was very wealthy. They gifted it to her, had all the authenticity. They got it from France. Like, it was 100% legit. But the first sale didn't go through. We weren't able to sell it again for a while because it was such a big sale and our account was so new, and like eBay kind of blocked us from selling it. And again, part of that is because it was such a high end item that eBay even put some restrictions on us being able to relist it because we had a new account. Now, I would be okay selling one of her purses like that again if we had something like that. But if you're trying to sell 10, 20, 30, 40 of those, now all of a sudden you're kind of a much bigger liability for that company because you're representing them. Whatever goods you're selling, it's like you're putting their stamp on it. It's not just like it's you owned it and you're selling it used. Again, when you're trying to pass that off as new. So the other thing too is those luxury brands, they have a whole lot more money invested in their teams of lawyers and stuff that are going out looking for this stuff. Like, nobody's going out and looking to see if you're selling random things that you're getting at garage sales. But a company, I mean, even the Patagonia thing that happened, right? Who was that? Was it?
It's College Picker.
College Picker, right? Yeah. So even that Patagonia thing with College Picker, like, those companies, they can put the money behind the lawyers and the team to find those people that other companies they're not going to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. And here's the thing with luxury brands: if you are selling new ones, you're more at risk. If you're selling vintage stuff, like if I find I sold a pair of Gucci shoes one time and they were like dusted and disgusted. I mean, there was patina on like the buckle, like it was old. And I sold them for like I think it was like $300 or $500. I only picked them for $2. Like, they're not going to come after me. But if I'm selling a bunch of, like you said, new Gucci items that sometimes get counterfeited, that there's a whole black market, like, you're going to put yourself at risk. And so I stay away. And a lot of it is these brands, they don't want their name tied into like eBay. Like, they kind of want to set themselves apart, or maybe they want their own resale store for themselves. And so they're going to come after people. And so just be aware of that. Now, also, and this is an interesting one, is that, people try to work around the system. And so what I mean by that is, on Amazon and eBay, you can get gated for items. On eBay, you get zeroed. You have an item, it gets taken down, It tells you why. Now, I will say eBay system's pretty broken. I just got Veroed for a Smith and Wesson vintage snapback hat. I got Veroed for a Chevrolet vintage hat from a dealer. Like just craziness. But on Amazon, generally they're legit. And when you get that, what happens is you'll go and you'll see a listing on Amazon and it's gated, but then you'll see other listings and they'll have higher rankings and you're like, oh, I can list under this one right here. But the reason that they have higher rankings is because that's not the one that people are buying from. They're buying from the lower ranked ones because that's a legitimate listing. So you might try to work the system and go, well, I'm gated, but I'm going to try to use this higher ranked one. And guess what? Once you do that, they're the companies that are going after people. They're going to find that listing they never agreed to, because some of these companies, they want you to, you have to buy from them. You have to show a receipt, an invoice to Amazon. Like there's a bunch of steps, and a lot of people don't want to do those steps. So they'll go in and they'll list with the higher ranked items. And so they think they're getting away with stuff. And next thing you know, they put themselves in a situation where they're getting a letter, a cease and desist or court order or whatever it is. So definitely be aware. If eBay's telling you not to sell it and Amazon's telling you not to sell it, just don't sell it. It's not worth your business.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Another thing, and this is one of the first warnings you gave me when it came to reselling, was selling things that are like beauty products or things that get put on your face. Now, there's definitely a market for that,
Yeah.
especially when you're selling when you're selling like used stuff, or you're selling things that like you're not 100% sure where it came from. You found at a garage sale, somebody had a source for a whole bunch of makeup or something like that. Or things that are edible, your chances of being sued go way up, because if somebody has a bad reaction and they're like, wait a minute, this was supposed to not have this and this ingredient in it, they have some kind of a reaction, they are allergic to it, and you are the one now that's responsible for selling it. So whatever you put in the listing, it's just such a huge risk. So anything that could potentially cause somebody to get sick, anything that can make somebody, have some kind of allergic reaction. Now, of course, I mean, people can have reactions to anything, clothes that they wear or something, but this is a little bit more dangerous when it's stuff that's going on skin, stuff that's going in their mouth. You definitely need to be a little bit more careful of those things, because your chances of the risk is just, I don't know if the reward is worth the risk there. Now, again, if you're buying brand new stuff from a store, okay, maybe not so bad. But it's still, your chances go up compared to, a pair of used shoes that I got at a garage sale versus some beauty products, especially because a lot of those things aren't necessarily like name brand. It's like, people have made things and are selling them, and it's almost like an underground market for stuff. I've seen that before with people who are like, oh, I know a person who makes like an aging cream, and they market it, and you can make things look really good. Like this was a big thing in the supplemental industry. There's a documentary, I can't remember what it's called at the moment, but the supplement industry is like not regulated at all. I mean, it is, there's some regulations, but you need like a food handler's permit, and that's just about it. And because you can put proprietary blend and just kind of somewhat list the main ingredients and stuff, or just put proprietary blend, people were like, in this documentary, a guy was showing like with like bodybuilding supplements, that he went and picked up a bunch of day workers off the side of the street and brought them into his kitchen. And he had just bags of like, this has got caffeine in it, and this has some creatine and all these different supplements. And they're mixing it in these bottles. They put like a seal wrap on it and then put their logo sticker on it. And it looked like a legit thing you'd go into GNC and buy. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I just kind of made this stuff up. And now all I have to do is find somebody who looks like a bodybuilder, take a picture with him, and now I can start selling this stuff online. So that's the kind of stuff that you got to be careful with, because you really don't know what's in a lot of those proprietary blend stuff. And it's such an unregulated market. You got to be careful.
Yeah. And again, it doesn't mean that you're going to get sued. We're just saying your risks are a lot higher.
Your risks are higher
when it comes to those things. And then the last one here, and this one should be a given, but since we live in a society where, you can use Printful, you can use, what is a link, not Linktree, but, what is the thing when people sell items on YouTube? Like you sell shirts and all that. Springtree, mm-hmm. Or you can use any of those companies, right? And you can make like mugs and T-shirts, and this is the reselling podcast, right? And we don't just sell goods that come, that we end up finding at garage sales. Sometimes, Mike and I have sold, podcast t-shirts, and we appreciate all of you that have bought those. But sometimes people land in those and they go, oh, it's not a big deal. If I take a Disney image or if I take, whatever it may be, it could be anything that's trademarked or copyrighted. Even some things that like are quotes have been trademarked, and it can only be to a certain person. And the reason I say this is because, like I said in the beginning of this minisode, is if you look at the details for most of these lawsuits, usually I would argue that it's something egregious that somebody has done. It's not like, random reseller that goes to a garage sale and lists items that they found. That may happen, but that's rarity. Usually it's when it's a new item, it's a trademark item, or it's something that's been copyrighted, that, these companies really want to protect their brand, like we had said with luxury brands. And you want to make sure that you are not creating products and putting those images or those words and saying, oh, this is my creation, or this is my company. Because when you do that, that's when you get yourself in trouble. And I would say that's when you get yourself into a major scenario that is very tough and difficult to beat. So don't be scared. Don't start freaking out. It's not the end of the world. When you start seeing all these, resellers getting sued and they're squeezing us out and so on. A lot of it is a bigger story than you're hearing. It's not going to apply to you. And I would say it probably isn't going to apply to 99% of us who are selling secondary goods. And with that being said, unless you got something else to add, Mike?
No, that's good.
They're good. All right. Make sure to be suit free, be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Late.
Peace.